Hello and welcome to a book haul. I'm going to be sharing with you some books that I've gotten from the library recently, as well as some books that I've gotten from a variety of other places other than the library. So I will start with the library books, and this first one I'm actually already reading because I have it and I only have it out for 2 weeks because it's a brand new book. That is A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. T. Kingfisher is one of my favorite authors, and I don't know anything about this book because I knew when it was coming out that I wanted to read it, and sometimes when I'm going to read a book by an author, I like to give myself a little treat and not read about it so that I don't know a lot about it, so that I can just be surprised. So I'm about 10 pages in exactly. I've read one chapter. And it's really good. All I really know about it so far is that there's this girl who lives with her mother, and her mother is somewhat abusive in the fact that she punishes Cordelia. Yes, she punishes Cordelia, her daughter, for misbehaving by making her obey. So it's like this girl loses control of her body. She can still feel everything that's happening, but she can't control her body. Her mother does. And that's all I read in the first 10 pages, the first chapter. But it was really good, very spooky, which I love from T. Kingfisher. And I'm really excited to see what's going to happen next. Another newer book that I'm excited that I found at the library is The Husbands by Holly Gramazio. This is kind of like a literary fiction, women's fiction book about a woman who keeps having different husbands come down from the attic in her house, and I don't know if I think it's different versions of her husband, and it's this idea of can you appreciate someone who's not the perfect husband? Can you just appreciate someone for who they are? I think, again, I don't know a lot about this, but I've heard it's pretty funny, and I thought it sounded interesting, so I'm excited to pick that up. And then by Edward Ashton, there is this book, Mickey 7, and its sequel, Antimatter Blues. This is a sci-fi, maybe duology. I couldn't figure out if there was going to be more books in this series. So maybe if you know, you could let me know. But this is a science fiction series about clones. I don't know a ton more than that. I did read the blurb at one point and just have forgotten since then. But this is what I think my friend would like, but I kind of want to try it as well. It's been one that every time I see it, I'm like, maybe I should try it, especially because they're really quite short, and I think they're kind of thrillers, maybe like Blake Crouch style, I'm not sure. So I want to give this a try because that would be fun. I like a bit of sci-fi here and there. Another book, When We Were Dragons by Kelly Barnhill. So I have read a collection of short stories from Kelly Barnhill before, but I've never read one of her novels. And so I'm excited to try this one out. I think this is women, when they get mad, they turn into dragons, which sounds interesting. I think it's maybe more women's fiction than fantasy per se. That's kind of what I'm expecting. Maybe more magical realism, but I'm excited to give this one a try. I haven't heard stellar things from people who I watch about this book, so I'm a little hesitant, but it is one that's on my list that I want to try. My last library book that I picked up is Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I enjoyed reading The Martian. I read it, back in 2015, I think, so a really long time ago. But it was one of those books where I started reading it and I was going to read a little bit of it, and the next thing I knew, I had sort of finished it. And so I want to read more because I've just heard from so many people that this one is very good. And I think it has aliens. I'm not sure, but I really enjoy books with aliens. And even though this one's chunky, Andy Weir's stories read pretty quick, at least The Martian did. So I'm excited to check this one out. Okay, on to the books that I have gotten to keep, to put on my shelves, and borrowed, because I have borrowed some as well. So, we have Washington Black. This is by Essie Adugian. And this is about a slave that goes on a journey. And I don't really know much about it other than it's like an adventure story. I love an adventure story. It sounds a little quirky and interesting. It's set in Barbados, which I don't know a lot about, and it's just going to be like a journey around some different countries. And I found this at a little free library. I've wanted to read it for a long time, so I thought I'd pick it up. And then this is a newer book that is on my list of want to read books. Books and Lala recommended this book very highly. That is Benjamin Stevenson's Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone. And this is about a family who everyone has killed someone at some point. And I think it's like a murder mystery within this family. And it sounds fun and quirky and interesting. And then I picked up a second book in a series. I have not yet read the first one, but I am going to be getting it from my library soon, and I'm hoping I enjoy the book. But I found it for really cheap at a thrift store, so even if I didn't like the series, I could just pass this one on. This is The Storm Sister by Lucinda Riley. This is the sequel to The Seven Sisters, which is the first book. And this is a book about a family of 7 sisters. Each sister, I think, has like special powers, and it just sounds like something maybe a little bit Diana Gabaldon-esque, where it's historical, romance, maybe a little magical. I don't know a ton about it, but I want to read it, and it's like an 8-book series, so if I read it and love it, amazing. Then I picked this one up at a little free library. This is called A Woman's Liberation, A Choice of Futures by and About Women. This is a short story collection. It's edited by Connie Willis and Sheila Williams. And this has some short stories by quite a few science fiction authors. Some that I know about and some that I don't. Like, it has Octavia Butler. I have never read Octavia Butler, but I'm very excited to try a short story of hers. There's Anne McCaffrey, who I've never read from before. Connie Willis, I've read and DNF'd her book, but I'm still interested to try another short story. I'll never say never with an author, almost never. Pat Murphy, I think I've heard of. There's an Ursula K. Le Guin story in here, so this just sounds fun. I mean, women's science fiction, I feel like this just sounds like a good time. I've read some women's science fiction stories before and really liked them. So then another couple of books that I got was Isabel Allende's Island Beneath the Sea. I have sort of unofficially been getting Isabel Allende books when I find them for cheap because I read The House of the Spirits and I absolutely loved it, and I've just kind of been picking up her books here and there when I see them, and I don't really know anything about this one. But I love Isabel Allende's writing. I think she's a horribly underappreciated author. I think she deserves so much more praise, at least for The House of the Spirits. I haven't read everything else by her, but I love this cover too. It's beautiful. So I'm glad to add this to my shelves. Then I found Blindness by Jose Saramago. And this one I've heard is really good. Let me just read the blurb, because this is one I've just heard a lot about, and I actually have never read the blurb. I've just heard it's really good. A city is hit by an epidemic of white blindness, which spares no one. Authorities confine the blind to an empty mental hospital, but the criminal element holds everyone captive, stealing food, rations, and assaulting women. There's one eyewitness to this nightmare who guides 7 strangers, among them a boy with no mother, a girl with dark glasses, a dog of tears, through the barren streets, and the procession becomes as uncanny as the surroundings are harrowing. Doesn't give me like a ton, but that sounds good. Sounds like it has some interesting vibes. So I'm ready to check this one out. And then another book that I was so excited to find. I can't remember if I found this one for free or not. This is the first 15 lives of Harry August. This is by Claire North, and I've heard very good things about this. But it's this boy who, like, when he dies, he just, like, starts back over again, and I kind of love a story like that. I read Life After Life by Kate Atkinson and really enjoyed that, and I'm excited to read this. I read another book by Claire North that I really loved parts of it, didn't love the whole thing, so I hope that this is something that I really love. And then the final thing that I have on loan from my friend is, I don't know what it's actually called. Is it the Angel of Indian Lake series? I'm not sure what this series is called, but the first book is My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. And then the second one, Don't Fear the Reaper. And the last one, The Angel of Indian Lake. And this is a kind of like a slasher series. I'm kind of sad that I won't be able to read it in time for Halloween, but I've just been busy reading other stuff, which happens sometimes. But this is a series I've wanted to read since the first one came out. It just sounds interesting. I've heard good things. I've been a little hit and miss with Stephen Graham Jones. I did not like his, well, that's not true. I ended up DNFing, what's his book that he wrote? I can't think of the name of it, but I'll put the picture here. I ended up DNFing that book about halfway through just because his writing style was a little hard to follow in that one, but the vibes were very good, very dark, and overall I was interested in him as an author. Then I read Night of the Mannequins by him, and that blew me away. That was a novella. It's like this big, and it was so good. I love it. I would definitely read that novella again. It was so good. That's another, like, good spooky Halloween read, kind of making fun of old horror movies like Night of the Living Dead, things like that. And it was just, oh man, like there are layers to that story, which I love. So I'm really excited to be giving him another try, and my friend said he liked this one best and thought the other two didn't really hold up in as much as this one, but it was like a solid series, so I'm excited to read that. So I appreciate him sharing. All right, so I need to find a place on my shelves for all my new books, which is unfortunate because I'm trying to lessen the books I have on my shelves. So I'm probably going to need to stop getting as many books from the library and focus on reading the books that I own. But that's a problem for later, Cheyenne. So thank you for watching. Please let me know if you've read any of these books, if you think there are any that I should prioritize reading. I always love to hear recommendations. Let me know if you think any of these sound interesting and they're ones that are on your TBR that you want to try as well. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!